Yeah, welcome to the Aro Benaiah Show, where we explore powerful stories of resilience, reinvention, and success. The guest is David Nassief, author and financial educator, who was fired at 63 with almost no retirement savings. But within 6 years, he turned things around and become a millionaire using a simple system he now calls the one-page word compass. Yeah, thank you so much, Nassif. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you today.
Yeah, thank you. So, David, what was it like growing up?
Growing up was different. I mean, it was good. It was good. I had a nice, good family. But I'll be honest with you, my father was a salesman growing up. And he was the kind of guy that everybody knew him in town. He was, very outgoing and stuff. And I was kind of the opposite of him. I was kind of the shy kid and all that. And I never thought I got the sales genes until later in life when I discovered, wait a minute, maybe I can do this in my own way, in a different way. And it sort of worked out in a way that I didn't expect.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So, David, being fired at 63 after an 18 years career must has been incredibly difficult. What was going through your mind at that moment?
Well, I tell you, like you said, I was 63, 18 years with the same company. I wouldn't wish that day on anybody. When I did the math, it was brutal. If we drained all of our savings and all of our retirement, we would be broke by age 65. And at this point, I'm thinking, who's going to hire me at my age? So anyways, but that wasn't the hard part, Aaron. Let me tell the hard part. The hardest part was driving home that day thinking, how am I going to tell my wife, Mary? We'd been married for 30 years. She did not deserve the mess I just threw our life into.
Yeah.
So it was difficult, very difficult in the beginning. It was unexpected.
Yeah. So, at what point did you realize that the math showed that you could run out of money by age 65? How did that reality push you to rethink everything about money?
Well, what happened was when I realized that, and I started applying at corporate jobs because I just felt like, well, I'm a corporate guy, I should do it. My heart wasn't in it, Aaron. I just didn't want to do it anymore. I couldn't do it anymore. But I forced myself because I was a provider for our family. I needed to work and earn money. I didn't want to be broke in 2 years. And so after 2 years of just constantly getting rejections from the different employers, I says, I got to do something different. So I took a huge risk. And I went to work as an independent sales agent on straight commission. No salary, no safety net, no benefits. The first months were brutal. Cold calls, constant rejection, rookie mistakes. I was getting no's more than I ever got in my life. But looking back on that, Arrow, I realized that those rejections I was getting was the resistance I needed to build mental muscles. Because after 10 months of grinding, I suddenly hit an incredible milestone. I was making more money now than my good paying corporate salary. And for a brief moment, I thought, we made it, but then I realized the reality, no, we didn't make anything. I'd been making good money for 40 years and look at where it got me, nowhere. I says, I have to learn how to invest and save. And so I didn't have time to waste with a bunch of theories. So what I did is I did my own research, read 21 books, listened to 13 financial podcasts, read articles and newsletters. Finally, I distilled everything down, Arrow, onto one piece of paper. And I set it and forget approach because I didn't have time to study Wall Street every day because I had an agency to run. And so what happened was after 6 years, I hit what I thought was impossible. From terrified of being broke to a 7-figure portfolio and real financial freedom. I now know, Arrow, it is never too late to rewrite your stories. Because if I can pull that off starting as late as 63, anybody can with the right direction. And I really believe that.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Anybody can with the right direction. Amazing. So you created something called the one-page word compass. What exactly is it, and why is the simplicity so important in in personal finance?
Well, let me. Can I just tell you briefly the story that inspired the whole thing? Then I'll tell you. Basically, scientists at the Max Planck Institute did a study. And they placed people in the center of a dense German forest and told them to walk in a straight line to the edge. Now, these were confident and capable people, but when the clouds covered the sun, the GPS tracking showed, Arrow, that they were gradually starting to walk in circular motions, some of them ending up right back where they began. And yet every one of them said they were convinced they were walking in a perfectly straight line. That is me for 40 years. I was working hard, doing what I thought was the right decision, but ultimately going nowhere, going in circles financially. And I says, I don't have time to do that anymore. I'm 63. My runway's short. It's more like a helicopter pad than a runway. I don't have time to do all that. So I couldn't fool around anymore. And that's when I developed my compass. And it's basically, it keeps me focused in the right direction so I don't go off on tangents like I did for 40 years. Still, it's a shiny object here, hot tip here. No, I blocked all that out and I made it simple. And so I could understand it and I could follow it easily.
Yeah, amazing. So that you can understand it and follow it easily. Amazing. So you managed to reach 7 figures financial freedom in under 6 years. What were the key principles behind those turnaround?
Well, one of the things was I found out a mistake that most people make, Aro, and it's a really bad mistake. And what happens is most people, what they do is they don't realize that they're paying tiny termite-sized fees that create quietly termite-like destruction on their portfolios. Let me explain what I'm talking about, okay? You got two people, A and B, both 25, just graduated or whatever, and they're going to work for 40 years till 65, and they each decide to put $1,000 a month away in savings, retirement, whatever, investments. Okay, person A uses a low-cost index fund with a 0.03% management fee annually. Person B goes to an advisor who charges the standard 1%, puts them in an actively managed funds with a 5.75 upfront load and a 0.66% ongoing management fee, which is quite typical, okay? Now, let's fast forward to 65. Here's what happens, assuming historical market conditions. Person A has a portfolio of $0.5 million, Aro. Person B has a portfolio of $4.2 million. That's a $4.3 million difference. It wasn't market timing. It wasn't bad investment decisions. It wasn't market crashes. It was simply little tiny fees quietly eating away at the portfolio month after month, year after year. And here's the thing. We assume they never got a raise. If we figured in raises, that gap would even be bigger. But here's the real tragedy, Aro. Person B probably thought he got great help. He liked his advisor. He was a nice guy. He took him out playing golf one day. Little did he realize that he did the equivalent of funding someone else's retirement with half of his own. And I'm not saying I'm against advisors, but what I am against are products that enrich Wall Street at the expense of their clients' portfolios. And I'm embarrassed to admit this, Aro, but I will tell it to you and your audience. I didn't question fees for 40 years. I thought those were just the rules of the game. But later I discovered when I built my compass, the rules we don't question can cost us the most. And in person B's case, it cost him $4.3 million.
Yeah, amazing. The rule we don't question end up being the other way that actually more like come around to. Yeah,
Yep.
amazing. So you often talk about the power of doing nonsense. What does that mean in the context of building weight?
Yes, that is so powerful, doing nothing, because 40 years I was tinkering with my investments all the time and buying and selling and just doing the exact opposite of what I was supposed to do. I finally figured out when I built my compass how to, and what I actually did is I doubled my portfolio 3 times in a 6-year period. And let me tell you, I wasn't chasing crypto, trying to time the market, or day trading. I was doing the opposite of that. I was doing something so boring it would put you to sleep. What it was is a simple investment approach. And the crazy thing about it is when the market was down, I was thrilled. When other people were panicking and selling, I was buying more shares at discount prices. My only regret, Aro, is the market wasn't down more during that 6-year period. But here's what really surprised me. It was the math. There's a thing called the rule of 72. And what it says is, if you're getting, say, a 10% return on your money will double every 7.2 years, or roughly every 86 months. My first double occurred in 30 months. My second double occurred in 13 months. And my third double occurred in only 29 months, for an average of 24 months, way less than the 86 months, or, a lot of people will do. But the secret weapon wasn't the returns. I was doing a few things differently. 1, I was saving a good portion of my income every month. 2, I was getting in the right kind of investments, which are low-cost index funds that are highly diversified and very safe. And 3rd, I would use a market volatility to work for me instead of against me. I got out of the cycle of buying high and selling low. Too many people do the opposite. They do that, actually. But what I was able to develop with my compass is I was able to build my wealth twice as fast with half the risk compared to how so many people are doing it and how I used to do it many years ago.
Yeah, Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for that particular analogy, being that you change the strategy of how you were doing it before into a very new way of doing it that was more profitable, a whole lot of dividends coming along with it. Yeah, amazing. Also, you share the example of a janitor who retire with millions. Why some daughter retire with very little? What lessons can we learn from that contrast?
So many people think, Arrow, oh, I don't make enough money. If I was a rich guy like all these other people I see, I could be wealthy too, but I don't make enough money. I just make a small, regular, average salary. That is a lie. And I'm going to explain why that's a lie, okay? The average NBA player, National Basketball Association player, they make over $10 million per year. Now, I didn't say $10 million in their career. I said $10 million in 1 year over that. Yet, after 5 years of retirement, 60% of them are broke, according to the Netflix documentary Broke. And the NFL is even worse. After only 2 years of retirement, 78% of them are either bankrupt or in serious financial stress, according to Sports Illustrated. Now compare that to Dale Schroeder, a basketball-loving carpenter who earned a modest income his entire career. He ended up with a $3 million portfolio because he lived on less than he earned and he invested the difference wisely. He ended up with more money than the average NFL and the NBA, the majority of them, because the majority of them, after 5 years or 2 years, they're broke. And so I'm saying this, there's two different skills we're talking about here. One is making money and one is building wealth. Now, the basketball players and the football players, they were really, really, really good at making money, but they were terrible at building wealth. Dale Schroeder, he was amazing at building wealth, not so great at earning money, okay? But look, who was the better off in the end? It was the guy who understood how to build wealth. That's why I built the one-page wealth compass. You don't have to be making $10 million a year or even $1 million a year to make this work. It works on very modest, even below average incomes,
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Making money is one skill, managing it is another skill, and learning the both of them is very key towards sustainability at the end of the working age. Yeah, this is really amazing and a whole lot of insight to learn from. Uh, so many people are overwhelmed by financial advice, crypto trend, and investor strategy. How can people cut through the noise?
Well, let me tell you how. And this is what I did, okay? And I'll tell you what worked for me. I built what I call a one-page wealth compass. I'm going to show it to your listeners. I'm going to give you the secret sauce. Matter of fact, I'm going to give it to your listeners for free at the end, okay? But this is
Yeah,
what it
thank you.
looks like, okay? And basically, if you're like overwhelmed, you don't know where to go, the first thing to do is look at the 9 trail markers to financial freedom and say to yourself, okay, where am I on this list? Okay, and say you're on the debt part. Say you're in debt, okay? Okay, I need to get out of debt then. I'm talking consumer debt, not mortgage debt. Okay, and so what they do is that's where they want to start. And they say, but I don't know how to get out of debt, David. Well, then I have on the compass, I have see chapter 4. Okay, so what they just do is they take this compass, they go to the book, which is chapter, and they go to chapter 4 in the book, and it tells them exactly how to get out of debt, gives them several options, ways so they can figure out what works best for them. And it's a real easy way to just make it all work for you without getting overwhelmed, because you're right, Arrow, there's a lot of noise out there, and a lot of the noise is trying to get your money, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for actually more like putting out the particular insights loads together in the particular book. Being that, yeah, I think it just helped more like cut off the noise and being able to go directly and read what it takes to actually more like be financial, more like intelligent, more than making, but managing. And that's really amazing. So you mentioned too that many people never calculate their financial freedom number. What is that, and how can someone figure it out?
Well, that's a good question because it's really not that difficult to get your financial freedom number. Let me just tell you how it works. There's only 4 simple steps. That's how it is. Okay. Step number 1 is what is your living expenses, or what do you want your living expenses to be in retirement? Let's just pick a number just for saying this is simple person business, $100,000. Just say, hey, if I had $100,000 a year, I'd be doing fine. I'd be living just good. Okay. So all right, you got $100,000 a year. Now the next thing you want to do is you want to subtract your guaranteed income from that. So for example, maybe you get Social Security, maybe you get a pension, maybe you have annuities, maybe you have a rental property, but let's just assume you get $24,000 of Social Security or some kind of a pension, okay, every year. The third step is you get the difference of those two numbers. So you take the $100,000 and you subtract the $24,000 from it, and that gives you a difference of $76,000. And that's what your portfolio needs to generate on average each year, so you can live $100,000 income life. And the fourth and final step is you take that $76,000 and you divide it by 5%, or whatever your withdrawal percentage is. Let's just say it's 5% for this example. That means your portfolio needs to be the size of $1.52 million. When you have $1.52 million in your portfolio in that scenario, making $100,000 a year, you'll be able to retire. Now, listen to this guy, Curtis. He was a mechanical drafter. And he did this exercise at age 60. And he figured out his number was he needed $1.4 million to retire comfortably. You know what happened? When he went and looked at his account, his savings account, his investment account, and his retirement account, they all totaled $2.4 million. He had $1 million more than he needed. He could have retired years ago, and he just didn't know it. Yeah. Doing this simple exercise, which I have in my book, it's real simple to follow. It lets you see the finish line. You know, it's kind of hard to win a race, isn't it, Aro? When you can't see the finish line, when you're just like, where do I go? But this lets you see it crystal clear, and that's what's so important.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, David. So, David, lastly, looking back now, what is the biggest mindset shift that allow you to turn one of the worst days of your life into the new beginning?
I think the mindset shift was age doesn't matter. Age does not matter. I'm 72 now. I have a multi-million-dollar portfolio. I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life. I'm not doing this to brag. I'm just saying it doesn't have to. There's no magic age where you can't do it anymore. People were telling me at 63, this you're too late. You missed the boat, buddy. And I believed it for a short time, but I stopped believing it. I changed my mindset, like you asked, and I said to myself, wait a minute. I'm in charge here of my own life. I don't have to listen to other people. Just because they don't want to hire me, just because they think I'm washed up, it doesn't mean I'm washed up, because I know I'm not. I know I got a lot of life in me, and I just got focused on taking charge and wasn't going to believe society's definition of when it's over or when you're done with, that kind of thing.
Yeah, ignore more like how society defines some things, and actually more like, get to focus on your life and just more like focus strictly. Yeah, it's really amazing. Thank you so much for sharing, David. So, David, for my audience who would love to reach out to you, who would love to get your book and reach out for coaching section or any other service you render, how can they reach out to you?
The best place to go is my website, onepagewealthcompass.com. And what I'd like to do for your listeners as a gift for being here today with us is I'd like to give them the free PDF download. This is the actual one-page wealth compass that got me from 63 to 69, from nearly broke and unemployed to a 6-7-figure portfolio. And it's the one, Aro, I still use today. I review it for 2 minutes once a week. Okay, and I'd like to give it to all of you free. When they go to my onepagewealthcompass.com site, the first thing they're going to see is get your free download PDF, put your email in it, and they'll send it right to your email. You can instantly download it. You'll also be enrolled in my free newsletter, which I give you tips and stuff. If you like it and you want to get the companion to it, which is the book, you can go to Amazon, or there's a link on my site to go to Amazon very inexpensively, and you've got the whole package now. You don't have to worry about the noise and the confusion anymore. You can follow a simple plan that is designed to make it easy for anybody, even if you have no financial background whatsoever. And by the way, I wrote everything in story form. So a lot of people tell me, David, I just thought the stories were so interesting about the different people you wrote about. And it brought to life the financial, so many financial books are all factual and they're all full of data and statics. I want to give real life examples, and so people could really see how to do it, not just kind of wonder what's going on type thing.
Yeah, thank you so much, David. Thank you for sharing such powerful stories of resilience and financial reinventions. Listener, you can download our free one-page weight compass that David have actually promised to actually give to us, and learn more at our compass.com. This has been the Aro Benaiah Show, bringing you a conversation that inspire you to rethink success on your next chapter. Once again, it's a pleasure and an honor. Have your nation, David.
Thank you. I enjoyed every minute of it.